Naveen?
Sir.
Sir.
Okay. Ammai?
Sir,
Only
yes,
sir.
sir, I'm here.
Likita also there. Okay, right.
Yes.
Only why 56 members? What happened to the rest?
Kaushik network problem ఉందన్నారు.
ఏడైనా కౌశిక్కి నెట్వర్క్ ప్రాబ్లం ఉందనే. So okay, we are having your first mid examination from third, I think so, right?
Yes, sir.
Third, fourth, fifth.
Yes, sir.
So we are in second unit 2. So unit 3 lo half vastundi ante kada. So we have to complete the list up to list, right? Antena?
Sir.
Okay. All right. So we'll proceed with regular work, that is nested for loops. If you are using for within another for, then it is called as nested for loops. So loops can be nested to any desired level. So however, the loop should be properly indented. Indentation is more important to identify which statements belongs to which for statement. You can make use of any for statement. Doesn't mean that within one for you are going to use another for. You can make use of any fors within for loops. But whenever you are using the nested fors, the indentation is more important, even not only for nested for alone. So in case of nested control structures, if you are using if within if or while within while and so on and so forth. So indentation is should be properly indented, means which block of statements belongs to which for loop and which block of statement belongs to which if or else if statements. You have to properly indent it. The example that you are going to see here for printing, write a program to print the following pattern. So first you are written, that is 1 star, asterisk, 2 asterisks, 3 asterisks, 4 asterisks, so on and so forth, up to n asterisks you are going to use. So for this program, you will be using nested for statements for within another for. So what you are going to take input here, you are going to take the input n, because you have to print this particular pattern up to whatever number that you have given. If you are given n as 10, then it will print up to 1 to 10 asterisks. So how it has been printed, first within the first line 1 asterisk, second line 2, third 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth up to n. So for that you will be using the nested for within another for. This first for is called as outer for, and within that for, whatever for you have used is called as inner for loop. So as it has been already, if within another if is nested if. So first of all, the if condition is going to be get satisfied, then only it will enter into the inner if. In the same fashion, the for loop also is going to be get checked. If the condition satisfied for the outer for loop, then only it will enter into the inner for loop. So if outer for loop condition have been not satisfied, then it will not enter into the inner for loop, right? So here you are going to use a for I in range. So now the variable for variable identifier is the I in range 1 to n plus 1. 1 to n plus 1 print function that you have made use of. Then so within that for you have made use of another for, that is for j in range of I, because you have to print, if it is of the first line you have to print 1 asterisk, second line 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So now first of all, the outer for it, the condition is going to be get checked. Say for example, now you have given entered n value as 10, then it's going to check that for I in range 1 to 11, 1 to 11 it's going to be get checked. So first I will be initialized with 1, then it's going to check the condition is 1 is within 1 to 11 or not. Yes, then it will enter into that inner for loop. It will enter into the inner, and whatever block of statements that you have written here, this particular statement, print statement, belongs to this outer for statement, and this print statement belongs to the inner for statement. Indentation is more important. This fur you have made use of. This one is the outer fur and this one is inner fur. Say for example, if you are given for I in range, that is 20 comma n plus 1. So will it enter into the inner for loop? Say for example, I have given the same thing. I inputted n value as 10. Now I have written the step 2 statement for I in range 20 comma n plus 1. Nobody is answering. Able to hear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Ah,
Yes, sir.
say if I have given n as 20, right? 20, then if I have mentioned the same thing, that is for I in range 1 comma 20 comma n plus 1.
So we have to use decrement.
No, you should not.
Only one time it is printed, sir. 20 asterisks.
Yes, it will print only one time, that is 20. Say for example, if I have given it as 25 comma n plus 1.
No output, sir.
No, it will not out. No output means no, it will not enter into the inner for loop. It will not enter into the inner for loop. Why? Because the outer for loop condition have been not satisfied. So, but as which we have seen within the nested if. So first outer if condition has to be satisfied, then only it will enter into the inner if. In the same fashion, if the outer for loop condition has been satisfied, then only it will enter into the inner for loop. So here outer for loop for I equals to 1. You have given I equals to, it's going to be get started with I equals to 1. N you have given as 10. So that's 11. So 1 is lying in between 1 and 11. So that's why it will enter into this particular statement and that's going to be get printed. Then it will enter into the for loop, inner for loop. What is the inner for loop that you have given? For j in range I. What is the value of I now? What is the value of I now?
1, sir.
1. They're saying 1. So that's it's going to print asterisk, right? One time that it is going to be get printing asterisk, first line. Then it will, so now it's going to be get incremented. Now I will becomes 2. Then it's going to check the condition. 2 is lying in between 1 and 11 or not. Yes. Then it's going to check. Now it's going to print that. Then it's going to enter into the inner for loop. And then it's going to range, that is j in range of 2. It's going to print on the same line for 2 times. Then it will come out of that particular. So like that, the process will be of iterative till you are going to get that particular condition. So when condition becomes, that is 11, so it is going to be made is I will be incremented, I will becomes 11, then it's going to check that particular condition. If that condition fails, then it will come out of that particular. Same fashion, here we have made use of asterisk. So here we have given 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 4 so on and so forth up to 1 n minus 1. Same thing which I have made use of instead of asterisk. So I have given for so 1 2, right? But the difference here is it's going to write 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 so on and so forth up to n. It is going to make use of another program, right? So that's regarding, that's how that you are going to make use of the nested for statements. If you are using for within another for, then it's called as nested for. So to enter into the inner for, first of all, it has to satisfy the outer if conditions, outer for. Then only it will enter into the inner for conditions. So whenever it is terminating, which for loop it is going to terminate first? Inner for loop will terminate first or outer for loop will terminate?
Inner, sir.
Yes, inner condition, inner for loop is going to be get terminated first. Then it will increment the outer for loop. Then if that particular condition have been not satisfied, then outer for loop will be so terminated. Then whatever statements which are followed by that particular nested for, that particular statement is going to be get executed, right? That's regarding the usage of nested for statement. Now let's see about another three statements which are used in Python, that is break, continue, and pause statements. Any statements which you already seen within these three statements? Any three statements, I mean, any statements which you already applied?
Continue, sir.
Break.
Continue, have you applied continue in previous programs?
Yes, sir.
Break. Break.
No, we are not, till now, whatever that I have given, I have not made use of any example for making use of the continue statement. I made use of example, I have given the example for break and pause. What is the significance of pause statement? When you are going to use pause, and when you are going to use break, and when you are going to use continue. Say for example, pause statements which we have already discussed while within the while statement, right? After while, that we have discussed this pause statement. See there. Nested if, after nested if, so I discussed about the pause statement. What is the significance of what is this pause statement? This pause statement is also main purpose of this pause statement is do nothing. Do nothing on execution. It will not do anything on the execution. Then what is the difference between the comment which you are going to use in Python and the pause statement? How you will be using comment? Comments will be used how you are going to use comments in Python?
Hash.
By starting with hash, right? There also it's going to do nothing, is it not? Say yes or no. There also it is not going to do anything, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Then what is the difference between the hash which you are going to use and the pause statement? In case of pause statement also, so it's not going to do, it is intended to do nothing on execution. It's also called as no operation instruction, right? So whatever instruction which you are going to given as comments, there also you are going to do nothing. Hash, if you are using hash, then what is the difference between the
So
hash?
a particular condition on depending on particular condition, the pass will not do anything.
Depending on particular condition. So are you going to test any condition there? No. These three statements are unconditional. You are not going to check any condition at all. Well, what condition you are going to check? Say within past statement. What condition you are going to check? What is the general syntax for past statement? Just pass, is it not? General syntax for past statement is pass. Break statement is break. Continue statement is continue. Are you going to check any condition there? Pass condition or continue condition and break condition? Any condition you are going to check? No. General syntax of pass statement is pass. General syntax of continue statement is continue. General syntax of break statement is break. Is it not? There you are not going to check any condition. Whereas in case of if statement, if you are going to take if condition, while condition, for, you are going to make use of range values, variable and range that you are going to make use of, and it's going to check the condition. What is the difference? So here it is often used as a placeholder for unimplemented code, especially we are going to use in case of for loop, you can make use of pass. Why, if you can make use of pass statement, while also you can make use of functions and classes we are going to use this particular pass statement. If you are using pass statement, it's not going to do anything during the execution, do nothing on execution. It's also called as no op instruction. Say hash also, if you are going to make use of comments, there also it's not going to do anything. What is the difference? Don't know? So while conversion from the source code to the object code, so if you are using hash, will it convert? Will compiler or interpreter will convert that particular statements or instructions which you have written?
No, sir.
No. That's totally compiler or interpreter are going to ignore that particular statement. Whereas pass statement is not going to ignored by the compiler or interpreter. It will not ignore. It is going to take that particular statements, but do nothing. It's not going to be get executed, right? It will consider the instruction which you have written, but it's not going to do execute any. Say for example, now this particular example that you have seen, given the number you have entered, and if n is positive, then you are going to print n square and set flag as true. If n is negative, then you are going to print n cube and set flag true. If n equals to 0, do nothing. You are going to write input the number, and n is greater than 0, you will be assigning flag true to flag, and so you are going to print n square. If n is less than 0, then it's going to initialize true to flag and print n cube. Else pass means it's not going to do anything, but during the interpretation. So here this particular statement, since it has been made use of this, is not going to be get converting from the source code to the other code. Whereas this particular instruction will be taken by the compiler or interpreter, right? Whereas hash statements that it is not going to take. That's one. That one which we have already discussed. One is pass statement, right? Another break statement. Break also, have you made use of break anywhere? Use chesama leda? Vadama leda? Vadam. Where? What is
While
this?
encountering -1.
Yes. So while in case of giving the examples for while that you have given, there you have mentioned, that is write a program to enter when the number equals to -1. So there it has been, so come out of that particular loop by making use of a break statement. Is it not? Yes, see here. So here you have made use of, that is break. So here we are going to entering the numbers. So when you are going to enter, then until you are not here, you are not sure of how many times that the loop has to be get iterated. So when the loop will be come out of that particular while loop, when you have the number that you have entered is -1, just it will come out of that particular loop. So the significance of this particular general syntax of the break statement is without any testing any condition, so that it's going to be get there you are going to check the condition here. If statement number is equals to -1, the performance what is going to do here break, that's it will not. So that loop is going to be get break and it will come out of that particular loop. That's another example that you have made use of, like that you can make use of. Slides are moving.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Right. So here the break statement, which are going to use it to terminate the execution of the nearest enclosing loop in which it appears. If it appears within, if that particular nearest loop, whatever nearest loop which is present, that particular loop is going to be get terminated. Especially this break statement widely used with for and while loops. So when the compiler encounters the break statement, the controller passes the statement that follows the loop. Say for example, now if you are going to take here, so now you have initialized I equals to 1. So while I is less than or equals to 10, so print I, and if I equals to 5, break. Now it's going to check the condition. I is 1, it's going to print 1, then 2 is going to be get, I will be incremented. So I will becomes 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth, up to 5 it is going. Since if I equals to 5, it will break. It will come out of the loop. Actually, the loop is meant up to it has to print 10, but it is not going to print up to 10. Why? Because here you have made use of the break statement. If I equals to 5, it's going to come out of that particular loop. Come out of that particular loop, then it's not going to increment the I value. Just it will come out of the loop, and whatever statement which is followed by that particular while, that are going to be get executed. So it's going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then done. Right. That's how that you are going to make use of this break statement. This break statement that you can make use of generally, normally speaking, it is going to be get made use of it in the for and while loop conditions. While loops we are going to use. So here they see here. So while this one is while outer statement, this example for the nested control structures. So while if you have used if statement used within while, here if statement used within for statement used within for, if statement used within inner for. The three conditions that you have mentioned here, the nested loop. First one is if within while statement. So here if within for statement. Next one is that you have made use of nested for within another for. Within this inner for, you have made use of if statement. So if condition. So break statement in case of what it has been mentioned here, used to terminate the execution of the nearest enclosing loop in which it appears. So the break for this particular break statement, what is the nearest enclosing loop? If statement. So for this particular break statement also the if statement that it is going to make it. So here that it will be of inner for loop. So here the transfer control out of the while loop. So here if condition is going to be get checked. If that particular condition fails, then it will come out of the loop and it will terminate this particular loop, and whatever statement that have been followed by this particular while is going to be get executed. Transfer control out of the while loop, and whatever statement that have been followed by that particular while is going to be get executed. Now if you are going to see here, so for loop, outer one is for loop and inner one is if condition. There you have made use of a break within if. Transfer control out of the for loop. It will transfer the control out of the for loop. So here it will transfer the control out of inner for loop. So it will transfer the control out of inner for loop, not for the outer for loop. It will transfer the control for the outer for loop. So that's how that we are going to make use of this break statement. Use it to terminate the execution of the nearest enclosing loop in which it's going to appear with that. Right? That's regarding the usage of break statement. Any doubts or any clarifications? Right. Now let's see about continue. What is the use of continue statement? Past statement, which you have already seen. So past statement is the same thing which we have discussed. It's going to make use of. And then continue. What is the difference? What is the use of continue statement? So both break and continue appears in the body of the loop. So it will be present within the body of the loop. So for example, if you are going to take this break is present within which body? Body of if statement. So here also if statement. So here also that it is going to make use of within the body of that particular if statement. Continue also that it is going to be get present within the body of that particular loop. So it's not going to be get checked. Chapu.
Slides are not moving, sir.
Slides are not moving. Now, Inisha.
Yes, sir. Changing.
Changing. Okay, right. Continuous. What is the now? Let's see the difference between the break and continuous statement. So break statement. So when the condition that it has been mentioned before that particular break, if the condition satisfies, then that particular break statement is going to be get executed, and it will come out of that particular loop, and it's going to terminate the execution of the nearest enclosing loop which it appears. Now what will happen in case of continue? If you are going to use both break and continue appears in the body of the loop. So here within the continue, when the compiler encounters a continue statement, then the rest of the statements are skipped. Whatever statements which are followed by that particular continue statement within that loop, they are going to be get skipped, and the control is unconditionally transferred to the loop continuation portion of the nearest enclosing loop. See the difference. When the compiler encounters a continue statement, then the rest of the statements are skipped. Whatever statements which are followed by that particular continue, they are going to be get skipped, and the control is unconditionally transferred to the loop continuation portion of the nearest enclosing loop. Say for example, so in case of previous one, that if you are going to take here the same thing, if you are going to take I, you have initialized I equals to 1, I is less than or equals to 10, print I. Then if I equals to 5, break. Where I will be starting with 1, then it will go to 2, 3, 4, 5. When it comes to 5, it will come out of that particular loop. Loop is not going to be get executed. Rest of the things, they are not going to be. They are here. It is supposed to print up to 10, but it is going to print only up to 5. Why? Because you are given the condition. Since that particular condition have been satisfied, they for whatever the nearest loop, nearest enclosing loop is going to be get terminated. It's going to be get terminated. It's not. Whereas see here, in case of the for I in range 1 to 11, if I equals to 5, continue, print. So now here also it's going to start with I equals to 1. Then is so 1 equals to 5. No, then it's going to print that particular condition. That is 1 is going to be get printed here. 2, 3, 4. When I equals to 5, it's not going to execute whatever statement which have been followed by that particular. Means it will not print 5. Then it is going to make use of, that is it will, that's what then here mentioned here. When the compiler encounters a continuous statement, then the rest of the statements are skipped, and control is unconditionally transferred to the loop continuation portion of the nearest loop. Now I will be incremented. I will become 6. It's going to check that particular condition. 6 is within 1 to 11 or not. Yes, it's going to get printed here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, except 5. That's the main difference. In case of break, it will come out of that particular loop and is. In case of continue, only that particular condition, when whatever statements which have been followed by that particular condition statement are not going to be get executed for that particular condition. Then unconditionally, it will transfer the loop continuation for the nearest looping. Right? Able to understand the difference? How do we make use of the break, and where to make use of, and how to use the break statement, and how to when to use the continue statement? Arthamainda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here also, if you are going to take here that while, so within that you have made use of if condition. So it's going to make use of transfer the control to the condition expression of the while loop. So here it is transfers to the for loop. It will transfer to the inner for loop. So continuous statement. So but here the difference between the break and continuous statement, the break, when condition have been satisfied, it will come out of that particular loop and it's going to terminate that particular whatever statement, the nearest enclosing loop which appears, they are going to be get terminated. Whereas, so in case of continue, whatever statements which are followed by that particular continue, they are going to be get skipped. Then the rest of the statements are skipped, and control is unconditionally transferred to the loop continuation proportion to the nearest enclosing loop. Right? That's how that you are going to make use of that the difference between a break and the continue statement and past statements, which you already seen. So what is the difference between the comment and past statement means? In case of comment, you will be starting with hash. Whenever you are converting from the source code to the object code, compiler or interpreter are not going to. So they are going to ignore that particular statement. Whereas the past statement is not going to be get ignored while conversion. It will be considered, but that at that particular statement is do nothing. Example that you have seen for that particular statement, right? So that's regarding the usage of break, continue, and past statements. So I have seen within this control statements, so conditional branching statements, and the iterative and looping statements, and the unconditional statements. So these are the three types of statements which are going to use in case of Python programming, right? Any doubts or any clarification till now? Right. Next, that is the last topic of your unit 2 is else statement. Else statement used with loops. See the syllabus. I think we have covered all the syllabus or not. So unit 2 consists of selection and conditional branching statements. If else, nested if else statements, then basic loop structures are iterative statements. Within that, while and the for loop, nested loops, break and continue statements, past statements. Now next one is else statement used within loops, which we have already discussed while discussing the while statement and the first statement. I given the general syntax. So this is the general syntax for the else part within the while statement. While condition, statement 1, statement 2, else, statement 3, statement 4. So here else within while and for statement are only with Python, not with the rest of the programming languages. We are not going to use else part within the while statement and the for statement, neither in case of C or C++ or Java, whatever that you are going to do. In case of Python, you will be having the else part with this iterative statement. Within the while statement and the for statement, you can also make use of else statement. Difference is in case of while if you are using the else part. So in case of while, the condition will be checked. If condition is true, then it's going to execute statement 1, statement 2. If condition is false, it will enter into the else part. Whatever statement 3 and statement 4 are present, they are going to be get executed. That's regarding the usage of else statement within while. So here while condition is going to be get checked. If condition is true, then statement 1, statement 2 is going to be. So else block is optional. If present, it is executed when condition fails. If the condition fails, then it's going to execute statement 3, statement 4. So the while loop is terminated abruptly by using break statement, which I already seen, and then the else block is not used. Within this, if you are going to use, say, for example, break statement you have used within this while, then it will not enter into the, even if the condition is false, it will not enter into the else part. Even if the condition is false, it will not enter into the else part. Why? Because you have made use of break statement within the while statement. See the difference. So if the while loop is terminated abruptly by using the break statement, then the else block is not executed. If you are not using break statement within while statement, then if the condition is false, then it will enter into the else part. Able to understand? So if you are using break statement within while, even if the condition is false, since you have made use of break, it will come out of that particular while loop. It will not enter into the else part. Even if you are using, if you have used the else statement, it will not enter into the else statement. Why? because you have used break within while loop, right? That's the usage of else block within while. In the same fashion, you can make use of else within for loop also. You have seen while dealing with the for loop, this is the general syntax. For variable in that particular list, statement 1, statement 2, else, statement 3, statement 4. So now here also you can make use of the else part. The reference is, so here whatever statements that you have written within this for, those statements are being executed for the specified number of times. After completion of that, then the else statements are going to be get executed. Whereas in case of while, if the condition fails, it will enter into the else part. So here it will, the whatever statement that you have written during the each iteration of the where is assigned to the next value to that particular list in place of list. That else block is optional. If it present, it is executed if loop is not terminated abruptly by the break statement. Here also, if you are going to use break statement within this for, it will not enter into the else part. Here, both the cases, in case of while and for loop, if you are using within that while break statement is used, then it will not enter into the else part. Even here, in case of for also, if you are using break statement within for, it will not enter into the else part. So whereas in case of difference is, in case of while statement, if the condition is false, if you are not used break statement within that while, then it will enter into the else part. So here in this in same fashion, for loop also, for loop within also you can make use of else part. So else block is optional. If you are using else block and if you are using break within for, then it will not enter into the else part. If you are not used the break within for, then whatever statements that you have written within this for, they are going to be get executed. After completion of that, then the statements which are written within the else also are going to be get executed. They will be executed and they are going to write it. That's the difference between the else block which are going to use within while and within for statements. Now see, so in Python we can have the else statement associated with a loop statement. If the else statement is used for a for loop, the else statement is executed when the loop has completed iterating. After completing this particular iteration, that is statements which are written, then it's going to execute this particular part. When used in while loop, the else is executed when the condition becomes false. So if you are using break statement in both the cases, in case of for loop, for and while condition also, it will not enter into the else part and it will not execute that else block. Their loops are going to be get terminated. So because you have made use of break statement, right? Example that you have taken here. Say for example, if you are going to take for letter in hello, so print letter, so end, else print code. So now you have made use of else block also here. So it's going to be get, the loop is going to be get iterative if they are going to print. So letter in hello, whatever present which are going to be get written here, hello, and then it will comes to the else part. It will comes to the else part. That particular statement also going to be get executed. The output will be hello, done. So if you have used any break statement within this for, then it will not enter into this else part. Say for example, now what will be the output for this? I equals to 1. Then it's going to check the condition I is less than 0. So print I. So I will be decremented. Else print I is not a negative. So loop did not execute. Now this is going to, now what is the value that you have initialized? I equals to 1. This is going to check the condition. 1 is less than 0. No. Since it is not, the condition have been not satisfied, condition is false, it will enter into the else block, and whatever statement that you have written here, they are going to be get executed. That is not, one is not negative, so loop does not execute. So like that, it will come out of that one. So if you have been assigned here, say for example, if I equals to minus 10, then minus 10 is less than 0. Yes, then it is going to be get return print I. So I will be decremented. So it's going to be get printed. So it will not undo. So since here you have been made is of the condition becomes false. When the condition becomes false, it will enter into the else part. Whereas in case of for loop, if you are using else, a condition is true and you have not made use of any break statement, after execution of this particular statement which are followed within that particular for, then it whatever statement that you have written within the else block are also going to be get executed. They will be written with that. So that's what see here. So hello, we are going to, if you are not made use of end, then it will be written line by line, H in one line, E another line, L in another line, L, and the last line, sixth line will be done. It will be executed. It will be written like that. Since you have made use of end, it's going to write on the same line. And after completion of this particular iteration, after completion of this particular loop, then it will comes to the else part, and whatever block of statement that you have written here, they are going to be get executed. That's the difference between the usage of else block within the iterative statement for and while. Any doubts or any clarification? Nobody is answering.
No, sir.
Sir.
No doubts. So this end of unit 2 will go to unit 3. What actually unit 3? Unit 3. Unit 3 covers container data types. What are the container data types? Can you mention what are the container data types used in Python?
List,
Hmm. Hmm.
Tuples, dictionaries,
Hmm.
sets.
Hmm. What about strings? Strings? Right? Strings also. Strings, lists, tuple,
tuple, dictionary,
sets, and dictionaries. Right? And so unit 3 is it will cover lists, then sets, dictionaries. Unit 4 covers strings and functions. Strings and functions. Unit 5 covers object oriented programming concepts, right? So actually speaking, after unit 2, you should complete first functions. Why? Because you are going to use functions in all the sequences. All the sequence data types are container data types. You are going to use the functions, different operations, different methods which are going to be get implemented within string and within list and within tuple and then within sets and within dictionaries, different operations and the methods which are going to use. So prior to that, so you should have covered the first functions. After functions, if you are going to study about this particular container data types, then it is sequence of the syllabus is good. It will be effective. Why? Because without knowing the functions, how to make use of the functions and how to write that particular functions, directly going into the tuples. So anyhow, since the syllabus have been given in the same fashion, so as per the mid one is concerned, so we have to cover with the tuples. Sorry, with the list. We'll go from the next class from the list, right? If we are going to study about the functions first, then strings, and then this list, and then tuple, and then sets, and then dictionary. It will be of a sequence. Well and nice, well and good. After that, unit 5, you are going to cover with the particular object-oriented concept. Okay. Any doubts or any clarifications within unit 2? Any topics to be repeated or any examples that it has to be? So it is of. If you have got any doubts, we will continue in that particular class, or else we'll directly go to unit 3. Chapandi. Chapamai, Likita.
No doubt, sir. Attendance
Who are the absentees?
66,
Ah,
69,
hmm.
75,
66, 69, 75,
80,
80.
99,
Hmm.
B6,
Hmm.
B7,
Hmm.
C3.
Okay, good. Any objection? Absentees are 66, 69, 75, 80, 99, B6, B7, C3. Okay, thank you. We'll see you day after tomorrow.